about us, we do disaster recovery, contact center solutions, virtualization-based security, mobile device management, IT project management, cloud hosting, network security, hardware and software procurement, support help desk, and mobile workforce, including telephony. Next slide, please. Okay, so just why are we here today? So as you've known with the COVID introduction and a lot of focus on the cybersecurity in Australia, Australia is the 6th most targeted country in the world, and we're experiencing an increase of 20% in ransomware attacks over previous years. And 81% of those breaches involve compromised credentials. So it's end users that are causing a lot of the drama currently. 43% of cyber attacks are targeted at small businesses, so that's 250 employees and lower. And 95% of these cybersecurity breaches are due to human error. And we're expecting a $6 trillion globally across cybersecurity impact in 2021. And the World Health Organization has seen a 5 times increase in attacks since COVID. Next slide, please, Nick. Okay, so what we're seeing is there's 2 types of cybersecurity threats, one to the end user and one to the device into the network. So to the end user is ransomware, phishing, social engineering, and malware. And into the network is denial of service, zero-day exploits, DNS tunneling, and SQL injections. Next slide, Nick.
So just as a quick overview, there's obviously a lot more attacks that are happening, but just to touch on what we're talking about today, that's just a very brief overview.
Okay, so the reason why there's 5 times more threats than ever before, a lot is due to remote working, so less secure home networks. Not everyone's based in one office. Less secure devices. A lot of people are using their home-based devices, or if they're given company devices to use at home, they're being used for a lot more personal use. And as well, company devices are being used outside of the home as well in more, Wi-Fi based locations. So people are more reluctant to update and install patches, taking their devices outside, as discussed, and lack of communication from management can also lead to social engineering, where hackers pretends to be the CEO and ask for details. And most importantly, businesses are not aware of the threats that are constant holes in their network and business continuity plans, and they can let these things through. Next slide, thanks, Nick. All right, so at Netway here, we take a 4-stage approach. We protect through multi-factor authentication. We secure the network with advanced firewalls, right? And we prevent these by using antivirus and making sure everything's patched. But number 4, the key element is education. So that's part of what we're doing today. And while we've got Cisco here to educate our customers and educate their end users on best security policies so that we can mitigate any risks going forward. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Dan from Cisco to take us through what they're doing in the market right now.
Alrighty, so just hold on for me 1 second. I'm just going to close this down. Thank you for that, Nick. All right, Dan, you are now the presenter, so take it away whenever you're ready.
Thank you, and I appreciate your time today, everyone. We're going to talk a little bit around how you're best to secure your remote workforce. There's a few considerations to take in when you're talking about your remote workforce. Obviously, we've all come down and seen the larger increase of people working mobile from home, and they're no longer behind a perimeter where they used to have, no longer protected, and a lot of customers have lost visibility. Attackers are very aware of that. They're using breaches involving compromised credentials, which is extremely common, and they're actually it's a lot harder to defend and assist their users when they're off your network. And we've only got a very small percentage of organisations currently using multi-factor authentication, or if organisations do use multi-factor authentication, they're only using it in a subset of their organisation. We've definitely got a change in the way people will connect, changing locations, changing types of traffic, and you often have people doing stuff on their home PC that they wouldn't necessarily do at the corporate. So that might be watching a YouTube video. Hopefully no one's doing that right now, whilst listening to a work presentation, whilst doing email. The problem this means is it's really hard if you're going to bottleneck and send all that traffic back to your perimeter network. It's going to actually give the end user experience the end user a much worse experience. So what we like to do at Cisco is actually divide up our remote workers into 4 different segments, 4 different types of remote workers, and apply appropriate controls based on what that actual remote worker is trying to do. If you put all your remote workers into a single bundle and apply the same controls across all of them, some are going to get very frustrated and some are not going to be happy with the level of access they got. So simply, we divide them into 4 groups. We have the remote worker that needs to access the applications in your data center. This might be your ERP system, and we use a combination of things like endpoint security, remote access VPN technologies, and then we make sure we do that SAML and 2-factor authentication. If you've got a remote worker that's just accessing applications in the public cloud, it might be Office 365, Box, those sort of applications, you can get away without maybe that remote access VPN, but you still want to do that multi-factor authentication. You might have applications in sort of colo hybrid clouds where you have a firewall in that cloud that terminates the connections. And then you might just have a remote worker that has full access to the internet. The hard part is sometimes workers will go in and out of these different personas throughout the day. So you need solutions that can actually be a little bit flexible, turn on technologies such as split tunneling. We'll go through a little bit how to do that later on to allow the best user experience possible. And what you need to do this is a very broad but integrated secure remote worker solution. One that gives you connectivity, but also delivers security under the same banner. We're going to talk about Cisco Umbrella and Cisco Duo a little bit later, give you a few demonstrations of what they look at. When you're doing the multi-factor auth, it should be across the entire portfolio. I had a customer of mine recently that due to COVID, they sent all their payroll stuff home. Their payroll system had never been accessible outside of the building ever in the history of their business. So they were able to actually put that payroll system securely online, used Cisco Duo to control the authentication, control who could get access to it, where they could access to, what patch levels they had to have, and they were able to continue with their payroll runs remotely. The irony is now is everyone's like, well, why didn't we do this earlier, and why are we not doing it for a bunch of other applications as well? So how do we deliver this best-in-class security for remote workers and make it easy? And that the simple answer to that is we deliver it from the cloud. Both Cisco Umbrella and Duo multi-factor authentication have no on-premise component. This means they're delivered as a SaaS service to you. They're very simple. They're very effective. They provide the protection that your business needs, but don't actually require you to go and maintain it. So some of the advantages that come with the cloud are there's no performance degradation. If you go, someone upgrades their NBN at home from 50 meg to 100 meg, there's no performance degradation. That's built in. We've seen a lot of end users do that at the moment. We have a unified management platform called Cisco SecureX, which I'll show you, which gives you visibility across the platforms. We continuously innovate in these solutions as well. So hopefully they don't catch me out today, but often there'll be a little extra widget or a little extra feature in the product that just pops up into the dashboard. You don't need to go and upgrade the firmware to get use these features. All you need to do is click the button and turn on those new features. Cisco takes care of the redundancy, takes care of the scale. It gives you agility for your business as you're growing, or maybe you're becoming a little bit smaller at the moment. We give you the ability to grow or reduce your user counts. And the whole plan of the cloud-based security platforms is it's a better user experience. Users are getting very, very frustrated, and there's a lot of pains with working from home. So you want to be able to provide the best user experience we can. So how do we do this? Cisco Umbrella is a very, very simple technology that starts with DNS layer security. The benefits of this is we see all traffic across all users, all regardless of the application. And it gives us the first line of defense to actually give us visibility of all attacks, whether it's malware, and we can do content filtering in this as well, and we can manage and block cloud applications. I'll show you some of the cloud application discovery later on. But it gives us a really good context for fast investigation. So you know exactly what people are going to, what sites they went, and whether this is good or bad for your organization. We then have the ability to put very well-controlled, layered policies. So we can have policies just for visibility, where we just have visibility whether on or off the corporate network. We have policies for protection, where we control, we do file inspection, we bring in threat intelligence access, we can even sandbox files. And then we control it. So this is where you can have allow lists and block lists, where you can actually block ports and protocols. You can do content filtering. You can actually block applications from a very granular level as well. We're bringing all our threat intelligence so that we're making sure that you don't need to go and add new domains to a block list if you find a malicious thing. This is done for you. What I'm going to do, and hopefully this will work with the magic of WebEx, is show you what that Umbrella dashboard looks like. Hopefully you should be able to see this, but this is the Umbrella dashboard. It's a cloud-based dashboard that you log into. What I really like about this dashboard is it's very quick to go and search things like activity search. So I can find out very quickly and very simply where a user has been, what activity they've been up to, and even get some internal IP address information as well, and all the categorization. I can click on the threats reports to see if I've got any threats, if I've got good news or bad news in my networks today. And this goes for your on-premise users and your remote users. But what I do really like is I'm not just seeing domains, I'm actually can go and see applications that are people using. All cloud applications come in all the various varieties these days. So you can go in and you can review your applications. You can have a look at what applications are most commonly used, and you can have a look at what is the risk on those applications. So if I look at my most common application that I use from this network, it's Apple iCloud storage. So I can choose whether I want to allow or deny that. And I can actually even just look for, let's look at the high risk and the very high risk applications. So I've got bulks, I've got some other applications that come up in the high risk category, so I can determine whether I want to continue to allow them. If I wanted to block one of those or stop one of the very high risk applications, let's have a look at the very high risk ones. Should come up here. Let's go back to dashboard. So if I just want to have a look at maybe the anonymizer applications that have been through this network, I can see that Holla is an anonymizing application. I can then go and have a look at the identities, the people or the networks that have used this, see how much they've used it, and I can see on what time period they've used it. So I can very quickly say, well, hang on, no one seems to be using this anymore. I don't really need to go and do an investigation whether this is good or bad or within my network. I can move on very, very quickly. So this is Umbrella, delivered from the cloud, delivered very easily, very quickly. To set this up is about a 20-second job, and it's very simple technology. The other part of the stack is obviously around multi-factor authentication. What most people do when they talk about multi-factor authentication is all about getting the user's second factor authentication. And it's actually a pain for the user, and users don't like it. With Duo, we've sort of turned that on the head and made the user experience premium, given them very different ways, whether it's SMS, whether it's push authentication, or it's YubiKeys or touch. If you've got a Mac, you can use touch authentication on the Mac, but made it very easy to authenticate. We also give you a lot of visibility as to the device the user's authenticating with. where the patches wrapped to on their device, have their browser patched. We can even give you a very good security posture of that end user device. The cool thing about this is we can actually continuously monitor these devices to say if somebody's authenticated and we've left them authenticated for 12 hours, we can actually monitor that in a continuous scenario. So I'll show you a quick demo of Duo. So Duo comes in a cloud-based application again, and I'll just show you what the self-remediation. Self-remediation is one of the most common features that we turn on within the Duo, especially with having a lot of the end users working from home. So self-remediation fills in the idea of somebody goes into their Outlook online, they type in their username and password, and they sign in. And we can see that the end user's browser is out of date. Now we can make a business decision here whether we allow this person to continue on, send me a push, do the authentication and allow access, or we actually give the user a guided update on how they need to update their browser version. You can set this for 5 days, 20 days, depending on the user. Maybe if it's Nick. Nick is a high security user. He's got access to a lot of corporately sensitive emails, so we're going to make him upgrade before he can go into the authentication. But maybe if it's me, I don't have access to much email at all, so I can go on. It'll send me a push on my phone. I click on that push. I can read all the information about where that push came from, because you can actually garner these and automatically send these if you want. If I didn't receive this, I can click deny and it was fraudulent, then Nick can take some actions automatically. Or if I think this is me and it's all good, I can click accept and I'm authenticated. In this particular, it's a recommendation. I can skip that recommendation, or I can go and see how to update. And that's policy driven. It's policy driven for your business as well. And then you're straight into your email. The good thing about something like Duo multi-factor auth is you can layer policies based on groups of users, applications people are accessing. It's not one size fits all. And we find that a lot of customers, the end users are getting very much out of date. The patches in the operating system can be out of date because they're just not clicking them. They're not doing the updates. So this is a very good way to at least even give you visibility, because within the dashboard, you will get visibility of all these patches, operating systems, and everything as well. So the last part of the puzzle is all around remote access. It's all about having one client that allows you to go and connect to your corporate network very simply, very easily, without any user interference or without any user paying. So it connects you to the corporate VPN. There's still a lot of corporate resources that people need to get access to. And what Cisco's been managed to do is create, the roaming security bundle, which is an umbrella client, and the VPN bundle, and the ability to do all the system scans into a single client, all integrated with Duo for multi-factor authentication. What we're finding is a lot of customers have a lot more users off their network now. So from a VPN capacity point of view, we have virtual boxes that you can fire up into Azure, AWS, even on-prem and VMware, to give you that extra VPN throughput. Because somebody using RDP or trying to get access to a corporate system, they want to have pretty good access to it. The other part that a lot of companies have turned on is split tunneling. Split tunneling used to be you sent everything that was in the corporate network to the corporate network, and everything that wasn't direct to the internet. That doesn't really work these days, because if you're sending everything to the internet, you can often send some bad stuff to the internet. That's where we have the idea of a trusted split tunnel. So with a trusted split tunnel, by default, everything goes to the data center, and then you have a list of trusted sites. WebEx is a great trusted site. You might have Office 365 as a trusted site, and these go direct to the internet. The idea of using the trusted site model is that only the trusted sites and the ones that the end users use heavily, and the ones that chew up a lot of bandwidth are going direct. Everything else is coming via the corporate network. It gives you a lot more visibility, and a lot more control when people are on your network. You know they're only going to trust themselves. So your risk is very, very minimal for the split tunneling setup. The last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is a little bit around where Cisco's going from our Simplify Our Security platform. And that's with an application that comes with all that technology called SecureX. What it is a cloud-native platform, and I've shown you 3 solutions today. And the good part about what SecureX does is it brings those 3 solutions together and gives you a single unified dashboard to do detection, to do analysis, to do investigations and remediations, and to then start doing orchestration. So a great example we showed there is somebody actually clicked and said, hey, this is not me. I shouldn't have got this multi-factor authentication pop up. You can actually use the SecureX platform to do orchestration, maybe shut down that end user's account, create an alert, create a ticket in your system, and a multitude of other tasks. So the idea of SecureX is a centralized system, brings all of our technologies together, one place to log in the visibility, and then you can actually go and create your policies. I'll give you guys a little bit of a demonstration of SecureX. So this is our endpoint technology here that I'm logging into here. And you'll see that it's very common people log into a technology just to get a status update. And that's what you would normally do. If I'm running SecureX, which is this little dashboard down the bottom here, I have the ability to go and click into that and see where I've got active jobs. I might have active cases that I need to monitor. And this is kind of creates your little banner window which sees what investigations you need to do. It also gives you the option, the ability to, I lost my mouse. Go into here and launch different applications. So it's single sign-on for all your applications. So I can go in here, I'm going to launch SecureX now, and I can go and see all of my metrics for all of my investigations in one place. So I can see that I don't have any compromised computers, no detections, no bad blocking sites. So I'm looking pretty clean. I've done 15,000 requests in Umbrella, so I'm looking pretty clean. But that's not good enough for me because Nick sent me an email to say, hey, can you go and have a look at this domain? Tell me if you think anything needs to be done about it. That's where we launched a product called Threat Response. So this is just a dashboard where you can go and search any indicator of compromise. So it could be a domain like coinhive.com. It could be a domain like something malicious, and we can go and do an investigation about that. What the investigation does is a few things. It reaches into Cisco's Talus threat intelligence and tells about whether we think this domain is malicious or not. So you can see that we believe this domain is actually malicious. It also gives us all the other indicators of compromise related to that domain. In this particular case, it's all the IP addresses related to that domain. We also will do enrichment on targets. And the target enrichment is how particular users within your organization have either received emails with this domain in it, they've gone used Umbrella and we've seen logs with this domain, or we've seen other behavior in logs with this domain. Once you've seen those targets, then you can go and take actions on this domain. So an action might be, I've got 3 targets, so I want to go and block this domain. So you can actually go in here, you can go and look at the domain view, you can actually create a judgment, you can go and block this domain. If there's emails with this particular domain or attachment in it, you can actually reach into inboxes and pull those domains out. So it's this enrichment that allows you to do very, very quickly and allows you to make a decision very, very quickly as to, should I shut down this domain or should I allow people to access it? So a great example of this was when the federal government a couple of weeks ago released a bunch of information, indicators of compromise. A lot of our customers with this technology shoved them into here. They knew whether their systems were compromised, they'd been to those, and they could actually create policies very, very quickly out of this. This is extremely powerful technology. Depending on the domains you put in, we also give you timelines. So when we thought, so this particular domain, we were last seeing it on August 13, which is yesterday, so we know that whether it's domain or not. We also pull in external threat intelligence as well, so we don't just rely on our threat intelligence. We can actually pull in external threat intelligence as well. One of the cool parts about this technology as well is you can actually create casebooks. So it's not just a once-off investigation. You can actually create a casebook, share that casebook with multiple people. So you can actually add those indicators that comprise to a case, share them with people, so that if you need to go back and look at historical investigations, you can actually go and look at historical investigations. SecureX, as I might have said before, doesn't come at any extra charge, comes with all of our technologies. The more technologies you have from Cisco, the more technologies you can integrate in here. But we also have a bunch of generic integrations as well. So there's a lot of integrations that are not just Cisco integration, things like VirusTotal, things like Have I Been Pawned is down here as well. So you can actually go in and have a look at your user base from there. So the cool thing about Have I Been Pawned with the Duo integration, if you find somebody is credentials seem like they're compromised, you can automatically look up Have I Been Pawned, see if it's in that, and then maybe do a password reset or something like that. Nick, did we have any questions coming in on with people with hands up at all?
Sure did. So the first question was, on an employee's bring your own device, how does personal internet access get differentiated from business access?
Yep, that's a really good question. In short, it doesn't. But what we do allow you to do within our policies, when you're looking at our various policy, there's a lot of customers who actually only choose to log security events. So this is an example of a policy here. And if we look down the bottom, we have an option to just choose to log only security events. So when people are using their BYOD devices, we see this a lot in higher education as well. People will choose to just log security events. So I don't want to see what sites you've been to. I don't care if you've gone to Facebook or YouTube or whatever. I want to know what security events you've been to and then click log for that. Or you can choose to not log any requests at all, so the public browsing is not seen legal. Any other questions?
Well, that's the first one for now. So, Dan, are you finished with your presentation?
I just want to go through a couple more slides.
Yeah. So if there's any more questions, we'll leave it to the end. But sorry, Dan, keep going.
Yeah. Right. So the last slide that you'll see a lot of information in the industry about is something called SASE. So Cisco's been working on our SASE portfolio for a long time. And all it is it's your security delivered from the cloud or from the services edge. So what we do is we put technology together, and this technology together allows you to do things like deliver secure web filtering, give you a secure remote access, remote malware analysis, DLP. It also starts to give you the zero trust architectures. So zero trust architecture means that you only get provisioned access to the technology with the least privilege required. And we continuously verify that user's trust. So we're continuously saying, if we think your device looks like a PC and all of a sudden it looks like a printer, we're going to change the status of your verification. And then also being able to control your cloud workloads. So we'll be able to do application discovery and security in clouds like AWS and Azure, and do even micro-segmentation and things like AWS and Azure in cloud infrastructure. Because a lot of people, when they've moved in the last 6 months, a lot of infrastructure to AWS and Azure, they've actually lost control and visibility of what's going on in their infrastructure as well. My last slide is if you want to actually try any of these technologies, we actually have a free remote worker security offers. We can go in, get 30-day trials of all these technologies. We'll send this out along with some of the detailed guides on how to set up secure remote workers. You can go and try these technologies, deploy them in your environment, do some testing. You don't need to deploy them enterprise-wide for the trials. You can if you want, but you can go and try these out. They're very, very simple technologies. Cisco Umbrella is one of my favorite technologies. Never fails me, works 100% of the time. Actually has a 99.999 SLA availability as well. So very, very simple technology to use. So I'll throw back to you, Nick.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I'm just going to jump back quickly. Thank you, Dan. Fantastic. Absolutely beautiful. What we're going to do now, guys, is we're just going to jump back into the Q&A session. So I've got one question just quickly, so I'll go into that. Bear with me. So from a cybersecurity perspective, how does the Umbrella platform stack up against information security frameworks? And is it certified for ISO 20001, PIMS, and etc.? Dan, would you like to take that?
That's a great question. So yes, the data centers that we use are ISO 27001 certified. So it does take that. In regards to ISM, Umbrella typically, if you compare it with DNS filtering only, we're not seeing any of your payload data. So we don't actually, we take the DNS and then redirect you to the site or a block page. So we don't actually see the payload, which would be what would be in scope for ISM. So for ISM, when we're talking about that technology, we're not actually within scope of the assessment for ISM, so we've never done an ISM certification. Hope that makes sense. We do have federal customers in Canberra using the Umbrella DNS technology, so from that point of view, we don't see a problem. All the data centers are hosted in Australia as well, which is obviously an ISM requirement.
Beautiful. So guys, if you've got any questions, please chuck them in the Q&A section, the chat section. We've got a couple of minutes. We can answer some questions, or if you have any private questions, I'll give you the details at the end of the event to ask us privately. Just something I want to touch on as well is, I think we skipped over a little bit before, but if you think about what we've seen over the last couple of months, there's been massive attacks on Toll, Lion, Nathan, the Australian government as of recent. I suppose it's just a matter of being prepared, and that's why we're here today. Working from home has shifted a lot of our mindsets towards what's important now, what's important in the future, and what's keeping us in business to begin with. But I suppose taking an approach like we're talking about now with Cisco's stack of technology and with Netway Networks is really going to help going forward. So if there's any more questions, I'll give it a couple more minutes. And this session is being recorded, so I'll send a copy once at the end. Got another question. Is there a recommended way to survey the full IT requirements of a business and then confirm best selection for security technologies to deploy? So, Nick, would you like to take that, or?
Sorry, say that again. I missed that. My audio cut out.
Is there a recommended way to survey the full IT requirements of a business and then confirm the best selection of security technologies to deploy?
Yeah, so that would be an individual audit that we conduct based on each and every organisation that we touch on. So it'll be slightly different for each organisation, but get in touch with us and we can conduct an audit and go from there with the likes of Cisco to back end that as well.
Excellent. So I'll give it a couple more minutes if anyone's got any questions. Otherwise, Nick or Dan, is there any final remarks that you'd like to leave everyone with, or anything you'd like to bring to everyone's attention whilst we're here?
No, by all means, take up the offer to test some of this technology. If you just want to play it for home use, we integrate with changing your DNS and your home router is pretty simple. So if you just want to try that, it's quite a very simple way to get hands-on access to this technology.
Beautiful. All right, what we might do is we'll leave it at that. So first of all, I'd like to thank our presenters, Nick and Dan, for coming along today. Very good, very insightful information for everyone. I hope everyone got a lot out of it. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. There's going to be more of these webinars coming up shortly. If you've got any topics that you'd like us to address or anything on the back of your mind, please feel free to email me. I'll do a follow-up email tomorrow, so everyone will have the details and their recording from this session. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great day and stay safe.
Thank you.